Picture it. A lonely Ohio road, the kind that hugs the river and disappears into fog after midnight. Your headlights sweep across the guardrail, and for just a heartbeat, you see it. Something standing upright, smooth-skinned, glistening, frog-like. And then it's gone, slipping into the dark water without a sound. Maybe it was your imagination. Or maybe, just maybe, you caught a glimpse of the Loveland Frog, one of America's strangest cryptids. Welcome, kindred spirits, to the Dark Folio, your creepy little coffee break into the eerie, the whispered, and the wonderfully weird. If you're new here, I'm May, your curator of oddities and keeper of curious tales. I hope you all are doing great and you're staying warm. Here in Middle Tennessee, the weather has been wild. On Saturday, which happened to have been November 8th, 2025, if you're listening later, it was sunny and 74. It was glorious. It was a great day to be out and about. And then by Sunday night, 27 with snow flurries and wind chill in the teens. That's nearly a 60-degree swing. Well, I'm all bundled up and quietly dreading what this says about our winter to come. And speaking of wild, tonight we open the monster file on a legend that hops straight out of Ohio's folklore. It's not Bigfoot, it's not Nessie, but it is even more bizarre. Because deep in the Midwest, along the banks of the Little Miami River, there's a story that refuses to dry up. A story of frogmen, plural, who have haunted the edges of Loveland for nearly 70 years. Now, this one was a new one on me, and I can't believe I haven't heard of it because I have family and friends that live very close to Cincinnati, that have worked in Cincinnati, and this is just a cryptid that has just came on my radar in the last year. So I've been digging into all the good stuff so I can tell you all about the Loveland Frogman. So pour yourself something dark and warm, pull the blanket up a little tighter because it is cold, and let's turn the page. Our story begins in 1955 on a road outside of Loveland, Ohio, a quiet little town just northeast of Cincinnati. Really, it's about a 25-minute drive from Cincinnati, so really close. A traveling salesman is driving through in the early hours before dawn. For those of you too young to remember, it used to be common for people to go door to door selling things. Vacuums, encyclopedias, magazine subscriptions. You know, if you could name it, you could sell it. It was a legitimate living back then. But anyway, this traveling salesman is driving through, and the world around him is hushed with the river mist curling through the trees, headlights carving narrow tunnels of light. You can see what I'm saying in your head, I'm sure. Just that dark, desolate highway at night. The story varies with each retelling, but this is the version that shows up the most. He's driving late at night when he sees them, 3 figures standing by the roadside. At first he thinks they're people, maybe kids playing a prank. But as he draws closer, his brain starts arguing with his eyes. These shapes are wrong, short, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall, bulky, muscular limbs, leathery skin that gleams wet under the headlights, faces broad and flat, like frogs. He slams on the brakes, terrified yet transfixed, and then one of them raises a hand. In it, he swears he sees something metallic, glowing faintly at the tip, like sparks of static. A wand? A device? Who knows? Startled, all 3 of the creatures leap over the guardrail and vanish into the dark water. He tells a few people, but who would believe it? A frog with a wand in Ohio? The story sinks into rumor, but like any good legend, it doesn't stay buried for long. Fast forward to March 1972. Loveland's grown since the 1950s. There are more houses, more lights, more patrol cars on the back roads. And Officer Ray Shockey is on his nightly rounds when something darts across Riverside Drive. Too big to be a cat, too upright to be a dog. He slams on the brakes. The creature stops, turns towards the headlights, and there it is. Large, leathery, frog-like, standing on 2 legs. And before he can react, it hops the guardrail and disappears into the Little Miami River. He's shaken, but he is certain of what he saw. And a few nights later, another officer, Mark Matthews, investigates, and he sees it too. Now, these aren't campers who've been telling scary stories and got their imagination all worked up. They're not pranksters. These are trained police officers, men used to staying calm and factual. And they file reports and they talk to dispatch. And suddenly, the 20-year-old legend of the Loveland Frog, it hops right back into Ohio's headlines. For decades, the frog slept quietly in Loveland's collective memory until 2016, when Pokemon Go brought people back to the riverbanks. That summer, a young man named Sam Jacobs and his girlfriend were playing the popular game near Lake Isabella when Sam spotted something in the water. At first, just a large frog, but as dusk fell, the thing stood up on two legs and stared right at them. "We saw a huge frog near the water, not in the game, an actual giant frog," Sam later told reporters, "and then the thing stood up and walked on its hind legs." He claimed it was around 4 feet tall. He even snapped photos and video, though it was too dark to see much beyond glowing eyes and a vague shape. And when he told his girlfriend's parents, they filled him in on the local legend. The story went viral. News outlets everywhere ran the headline, "Loveland Frogman Returns." And then retired officer Mark Matthews saw the story. Tired of the attention, he called the station and explained. It was an iguana. He said he'd shot it decades earlier, identified it, case closed. But skeptics weren't convinced. An iguana? In Ohio? In March? 4 feet tall, running upright? That's a stretch. But maybe it was convenient to call it that. Maybe someone asked him to quiet things down. Or maybe, as some locals whisper, he saw something no one could quite explain, and later decided it was safer not to try. Maybe Matthews wanted the legend to die. Maybe he was tired of being one of the police officers who told some wild story about a 3 or 4 foot frog man. Of all the reasons, I think that I'm gonna go with that one. Over time, the Loveland Frog slipped from newspaper clippings into folklore, but like all good myths, it refused to fade. Today, the creature has its own festival, songs, and even a musical. Yes, really, a full-on Loveland Frogman musical performed by Ohio college students in 2014. There's even a Frogman 5K, where locals jog the same riverbanks where the creature was seen. As one runner joked, "If you can't catch him, you might as well run like him." Yet some say the river still holds its secrets. Night hikers report splashing sounds with no visible source. Campers speak of glowing eyes low to the ground. And fishermen? Well, they tend to pack up before dark because no one wants to be at the water's edge when something unseen brushes against their leg. So, what is the Loveland Frog? Well, skeptics say it's a mix of misidentification and imagination. That's always what the skeptics say, misidentification. A loose pet iguana, a raccoon glimpsed in poor light, or just some small town storytelling. But folklorists, they see something older at play. Frog-like spirits appear in legends all over the world. Water guardians, tricksters, shapeshifters. Native American stories along the Ohio River spoke of creatures who protected sacred waters. European tales of fairy folk told of amphibian beings who lived between worlds, not quite of the land, not quite of the deep. And Loveland sits right where ancient trails and waterways once crossed. Maybe the frogman isn't a modern monster at all. Maybe he's an echo, an ancient symbol of thresholds and transformation resurfacing when the world forgets how to listen. Whether it was a misidentified iguana, a hoax, or something prehistoric hiding in plain sight, the Loveland Frog has earned its place in America's Book of Mysteries. It's a legend that makes us laugh and then makes us glance over our shoulder, just to be sure. So if you ever find yourself near Loveland, Ohio on a foggy night, keep your eyes on the river, and maybe, just maybe, you'll catch a shimmer of wet skin and 2 eyes watching from the dark. If you enjoyed tonight's story, be sure to follow, subscribe, and leave a review, please. It helps keep the Dark Folio alive, and it helps other curious souls find us in the shadows. You can listen on Spotify, watch on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or find us wherever eerie stories live. Until next time, kindred spirits, keep your lights low, your coffee hot, and remember, the strange isn't always hiding. Sometimes it's waiting right by the roadside. I'm May. Keep that flashlight handy, just in case.